Al McFarlane. Welcome to the Conversation with Al McFarlane. Glad to have you along. Thank you for being here. Tell somebody that we're live now and we want you to participate in our live stream. Wednesdays, we focus on wealth creation, wealth building, on home ownership and strategies, tools, systems, resources to help us move into sustainability, to profitability, to wealth, to understanding what it is, how it works, and how we can attain it. And in my mind, how we can become our natural selves by understanding the importance of equity and saving and investing and working. Well, one of the leading voices in that arena is Build Wealth Minnesota. We are partnering with them to promote a massive program. They have a vision of getting 9,000 plus people into homeownership here in Twin Cities. We do have an aggressive gap of wealth, an aggressive gap of homeownership from and between the Black community and the white community. They are addressing the issue by naming goals and presenting programs and processes to get people across the finish line from maybe not knowing about the value of homeownership, or not knowing the tools, or not having the resources, the credit, etc. They've got a plan, an instruction, a guidance system that brings individuals and families into the knowledge of the strategies, tools that you need to be your own home owner. Well, Jeffrey Peterson is here, who is one of the leading voices at Build Wealth Minnesota. He's been with us before. Jeffrey, good to see you again. Thank you for joining the program. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, Al.
I said Peterson, I meant Robinson. Forgive me.
No
I said
worries.
Peterson, I meant Robinson. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Doing fantastic.
Good. Well, let's jump right in and refresh people on the Build Wealth proposition, what it's all about.
So Build Wealth is about building sustainable communities by empowering families to build social and financial wealth. That's been our core program and core mission from day one. And all of our actions have been intentionally focused in fulfilling that mission. And we believe that given the proper tools, which come in the way of knowledge and application, having someone who can walk alongside you as you take those new things that you're learning, those new principles and concepts and skills that you're developing, to have a coach alongside of you to walk that journey with you is a critical component to you being successful in your endeavors to build wealth for your family. And utilizing our combined experience, our combined knowledge, and I'm talking about real life experience. There's not much that a client has gone through that someone here at Build Wealth hasn't gone through. I've been sued twice for debt. First time I lost, second time I won.
Okay.
My family has gone through foreclosure. A long endurance and a long, arduous process of wondering if this is going to be the day that we get a knock on the door that says it's time for y'all to be out of here, And when I say arduous and long, I think like a 3 to 5 year process. My beard used to be black.
Stress brings it on.
Hey, I think I earned about 80% of these stripes during that time. But creating, having someone alongside of you, you never underestimate the value of having a coach. Because the coach process, the coach support is about helping you overcome pitfalls that's been laid out before you even get to where you're going, so that you can get to your goal faster, smoother, and we can't stop everything from happening, but there's a reason why. I've yet to see an NBA professional team or NFL professional team or NHL professional team or any individual professional win um, the highest honor or the highest achievement, like the championship. I've yet to see any one of them do it without the assistance of a coach.
That's right.
Never have I seen it. And so
Mhm.
we believe that with knowledge, with proper coaching, with access to financial products that's needed and necessary to help you reach your goals, and with partnership, because we don't do everything, and we're not here to do everything. We're here to do the things that we do well, and to focus on those things and connect our families to those other resources that we don't do. And
Mhm.
in doing so, we can provide the proper support system that any family, regardless of where they are, can get to reach their goals, especially their financial goals. This money savings is a mathematical problem.
Mhm.
1 plus 1 is 2. 1 minus 2 is we got to get more money. It's just that simple. It's math. We're not here to do rocket science. We're here
Mhm.
to teach concepts in a way that's understandable, that's relevant, and applicable to your particular situation. Because I can use the big fancy words, but I would rather speak one word that you understand than 10,000 words that you don't understand.
That's right. That's right. Well, let me ask you. I enjoy talking to you because you have these great stories to tell, and you have a way of framing the question that makes it really understandable to ordinary people, and that's a wonderful thing. Because I think that's what it's about right now, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, is how do we shift the vocabulary in our community so that things that may have been appeared or may have been presented as difficult and almost mythical or magical or luck, we demystify and make it accessible and create language and tools that ordinary people can use to, in a sense, map and craft a future that makes them a winner, and particularly in the area of wealth building, home ownership,
Yeah.
et cetera. And so, what are the barriers, do you think, that ordinary people have to believing that they should be a homeowner? Why is it that the disparity between blacks and whites in home ownership in this state is probably whites are 78 to 80% homeowners, and I think black people are probably 24 percent or less. So there's a 50-point spread there. What's the story?
Um, how much time do we have?
Well, yeah, we'll take the time.
So the story is a long story. The story it begins before most of us were born,
Mm,
and uh, I know some people like to say, "Well, oh, slavery was a long time ago." Yeah, not really. You know, I'm the first generation. I'm literally. I was doing just doing a research on my family, and um, I'm the first generation off the plantation in my family.
mm, mm,
My mother was born on the plantation as a sharecropper. The only reason why I wasn't one of prime. I won't say the only reason. The reason why my family left that sharecroppers plantation, my mother and father off the bus. Not my father, but my mother. They took my mother and my 6 uncles and 5 aunties off the bus. There was 12 of them. They went to school when it wasn't raining and the conditions were such that you couldn't pick cotton. But when the conditions were clear, you picked cotton. It was raining. My grandmother got all her kids. My grandmother, grandfather got the kids ready to go to school. So my grandmother, she went off to work. They went to school. They jumped on the bus to go to school. And before the bus got off the plantation property, the sun came out and it stopped raining. And the plantation owner raced across the field in his truck to stop the bus to drag my mama and my uncles and aunts off the bus to go into that field to pick cotton. And while their kids, which were on the white school bus,
Mhm.
stayed on the bus and went to school. And when my grandmother got home, she said, okay, hey, how is it? How was school today? They put their hands, we didn't go to school. She said, what you mean to go to school? Uh, uh, Mr. So-and-so got us off the bus and sent us back to the field, and we picked cotton all day. And my grandma said, "That's never happened again."
Mhm.
And she moved.
Mhm.
Lack of access. So generational wealth, we know what that bridge looks like. And to put it very poignantly, while I was doing my research on my family, using all the different tools that's available to anyone, ancestry.com and all these other different tools, going through the census bureaus and the voting logs and all this different stuff. It's not uncommon. All this stuff is common to those who've gone through the process before.
Mhm.
And I got to my great grandparents, and but when I was going beyond my great grandparents, at first it was like really easy. Like, man, this is gonna be quick. Before long, I'm gonna be on the boat. The boat from the transatlantic journey. I was like, man, before long, I'm gonna be on the boat in a couple of weeks. And that's how I process information. I visualize it. And so so anyhow, and I hit a wall, and that wall was I got to a place where I couldn't find the names anymore. I couldn't find my grandfather's father's name. I couldn't find my great grandmother's mother and father's name.
Mhm.
And I'm searching everywhere, and I think I must have spent maybe a week just digging through stuff. And I finally figured out the problem. Al, you know what the problem was?
What's that?
I was looking in the wrong places.
Yeah.
So I was in the beginning, when you're looking for humans, you look on tax records, you look in the census, you look for birth certificates, you look in the deeds and registries. But when you're looking for property,
Tax records.
you have to look in different, and then it hit. And
Mhm.
and it was an extremely painful moment, to say the least.
Mhm.
Like, my wife was like, baby, why you crying? And I couldn't even put it in words, because at that moment, everything started to make sense. Everything started to like really click, that no, you're the descendant of a slave. And at one point, you didn't have any rights. You didn't have the ability to own stuff. I know there's stuff out there. Some people say, okay, not all of us are slaves. That's cool. That's not my story.
Mhm.
My story is that I was a slave. My family, that was my descendancy. And
Mhm.
so when you think about how we get to this place where there's a lack of wealth, there's real stories that have to be told.
Mhm.
From those real stories. And when I say the fourth generation, I'm talking about 1878.
Mhm.
I couldn't get past 1878. I could not get past 1878. And I had one of my neighbors over to my house, and he was talking about one of my white neighbors. He was talking about he was in he's been going to all these European countries, tracing back his ancestry, and he was able to get as far back as like the 16 1500s. and I'm listening to him, and that whole experience is in the back of my mind. It's like, wow, I can't even engage in this conversation because I can only go back 100 years. And so when you think about the wealth gap, we're talking about 300 years of lack of opportunity
Hmm.
to build wealth for those who are the descendants of slaves. I'm not talking about anybody else. I'm talking about the descendants of slaves.
Mhm.
Everybody else is different.
Mhm.
And then you get into the 60s and the 70s and the 50s and the 30s and the teens, and you watch all of these communities begin to organize and to create wealth building opportunities within the community. And you see some of those communities come up against a whole nother level of attack,
Mhm.
ways to destroy communities. In every major city where there's a Black population, if you want to find the remains of a successful, thriving community, the only thing you need to do is take a shovel and go and start digging under the highway.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you have to do.
Mhm.
It's a living archaeological site. It's
Mhm.
a burial site, and it's right up under the highway. You think about the Black Wall Street,
Mhm.
and you think about all of these other communities that suffered in those similar ways, and then you think about the redlining and those practices that still rearing their ugly heads today. And you get even up until even and you get into this time, it seems like I've been a mortgage underwriter since I've worked in the mortgage industry since um, consecutively since 2003, and I've watched the credit score requirements change quite a bit.
Mhm.
And the moments when they change is when the opportunity is the greatest.
Hmm.
But the changes disproportionately affect a certain community of people.
Mhm.
So after the foreclosure crisis, guess what they did? Everybody who went through the foreclosure crisis, they changed the rules and say, well, you now have to go 7 years without being in foreclosure in order for you to purchase a property.
Whoa.
The value in properties changed quite a bit in a 7 year time frame.
Mhm.
So during the greatest opportunity to purchase a house,
We were locked out.
locked out. Then they made another change. They
Mhm.
made a change that said, okay, we don't care that your student loans are in deferment. If your student loans are in deferment, which means you do not have a payment to make, they started a rule where it required them to use 1% of your student loans as a monthly payment. And for some of us, $100,000 in student loans, $50,000 in student loans, $200,000 in student loans. 1% of $200,000 is $2,000 a month for a
Hmm.
monthly debt that you're not paying, that they add to your DTI to inflate your ratios to lower the amount of that you qualify for, which
Or to
means,
raise the down payment, right?
and not only that, but if you got $200,000 in student loans, it's safe to reason that you probably got a master's or Juris Doctorate, a professional degree,
Mhm.
higher level.
Mhm.
However, because of your higher student loans, you can't even afford to live. You can afford it, but you can't even qualify to purchase in a desirable area
Mhm.
what we would consider befitting of your
Yeah.
your your pedigree. And
Yeah.
so and so and this is just after the foreclosure. Just after the foreclosure, when the interest rates are the lowest, the prices are the lowest. And now we ask, why do we have so many investors out of town consuming all of the properties? Because the people that want to live here and want to purchase here, they've been effectively locked out.
Hmm.
And the ones who can't. And the ones who can don't want to, because this is not where they want to raise their family.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so and so when you think about like um um when you think about like the process, when you think about the rules, when you think and this is like these changes are extremely they happen, and when they happen, oh man, it sent shock waves through the community. I remember speaking with people over the phone, and people like, what do you mean they're going to use 1%? What do you mean? And
Mhm.
then for the families that had credit challenges, FHA said you got to use 1.5%.
Mm.
So now instead of 2,000, we got to call your mortgage payment 3,000.
Wow.
So it's like, okay, so the conventional ones would do a lower, but I need more money to put down. The one that was created, which is FHA, which was created to build the middle class. That program was created to build, literally to build a middle class, to put people into home ownership by lowering the amount that you have to qualify for, which they did successfully for the other communities. But the tools that they used to do successful, to be that were successful and great in creating a middle class in those communities, they don't work so well with ours. And then they started making rules, the purchase agreement. If you see DPA, some sellers will automatically reject your offer just because they see a down payment assistance. And so now you have all of these different things that's working against you to force you. Um, ah, man, you got all these different things that's working against you, that's preventing you from really going after what you perceive to be the ideal purchase for your family. And when
Mhm.
you think about wealth, and you think about the number one tool for building wealth for families globally, and this is historically, it has always been in the ownership of land.
Hmm.
And matter of fact, we call kings lords, we call the rulers lords. The original lord has been the landlord,
That's
the
right.
original lord.
Yeah.
It started off with the landlord, and the landlord in the feudal system, the person that owned the most land
Mhm.
was the biggest lord. And kings came about from conquering lands from other landlords, the smaller ones, to create bigger land. So now they're the landlord, and everyone else is a duke or something of that nature. And so the wealth building strategies, man, as it relates to how we've been locked out, man, and blocked out. And so now, everything that's as hard as strategic. And I'm not trying to make this into no conspiracy thing, but it just if when it happens and it affects a certain group of people disproportionately than everybody else, then you just got to consider, you have to look at the totality of the thing to determine whether it was intentional or not intentional. Even if it wasn't intentional, but it has some very specific ramifications, then you have to be just as not intentional or intentional and undoing what was done in order to cause the situation that we're in today.
You know
But
what,
I know that's a
Jeff?
long, long
No,
sound bite.
it's a beautiful thing because what you have done is put me back into a feeling of understanding. Say, if I'm average, person that's renting and wants to buy a house or just living in community, working a job, and may or may not have big dreams, but I have, the daily life to live, right?
Hmm.
And maybe I'm walking around with a sense of depression because my experience is that whenever I try to get credit or buy a house or buy a car, it's awfully hard to do. And I can't figure out why. I know that I'm short on money. Money is tight. I can't get the jobs I want because of this, that, and the other. But there's always a reason to deny me around every corner, it seems. So I feel frustrated, right? And so
Hmm.
talking to you right now tells me, number one, don't take that situation personally. Of course, you can't help taking it personally because it's you, but
Hmm.
to put that situation in a broader context and to look at a 2 to 3 to 400 year experience of our people as the descendants of slavery in America and the conditions out of which we have emerged, right? So rather than buying the general propaganda that devalues our intellect, our work, our labor, our skill, and our desires, we need to refocus on how much we have survived and what we have overcome and what we have gone through, and talk about that in a way that instills in us the confidence that greater things still lie ahead, that we haven't, even though everything has been thrown against our progress and against our humanity, we have the strength and resilience that it really epitomizes what it means to be an excellent human being. And if we adopt the language that sees us or allows us to see ourselves as operators in an arena of excellence, it will change how we do, how we think, and what we achieve. But you've sort of opened the door for that because you say, look,
Hmm.
here's what happened. This story goes back. It's not just you and the job you got today. This happened with your parents and their parents and their parents. It's out of a system that organized itself to exploit you. First of all, your life and your blood and your labor. And after you broke the system of slavery, which had bound you and moved the country towards its professed ideals of democracy and equity, even though the country resisted, you continue to push towards the ideal. And in doing so, you create change. So if we begin to see ourselves as a people with a history of making change happen, then we move to the market, even as individuals, with this attitude of I can do, and I must do, and I deserve, and not feeling like things are going to be impossible for me, but knowing that with and because of the history and the shoulders I'm standing on, we have moved mountains before and we can move them again. And so the question is, how do we get that attitude and that knowledge so it's part of the dinner conversation, even with young people who might not be having this conversation at all right now, or older people who feel like they've just been downbeaten so much that they've given up? How does Build Wealth Minnesota in particular reach those of us who need the coaching, right? And the coaching is going to bring us
Hmm.
through. Go ahead.
And um, like when I think about our financial curriculum and how it's how it's laid out, and our financial curriculum is financial literacy, but we teach it from not from just the capacity of financial wealth, but it's also social wealth.
Hmm.
And um, a lot of us might not be financially wealthy, but all of us are socially wealthy. And whenever you start a conversation about wealth, a lot of people, the first thing coming to their mind is money. The first thing coming to their mind is dollars. The first thing coming to their mind is a credit score, savings. How much money are you earning? Your degree. Are you working for someone? Are you um, Are you not employed? You know, are you a boss? Are you a self-employed person? All of these things come into play, right? But the thing that what people miss out on is there's a great opportunity to reposition a person's mind on what wealth really is. Because, you know, if I ask you out, you know, you got some kids, probably got some grandkids, and I came to you and say, hey, listen, considering, you know, considering the slavery, I want you to just push out your mind. I'm gonna ask you this question. I would like, I don't have any grandchildren, and I like a grandchild for myself. How much would you sell me your grandchild for? $1 million? $100 million, $1 billion? And obviously the answer to that question is nothing. I won't. No, it's so then what you're telling me is that your grandchild in terms of value is invaluable. And one of the components of wealth is, in terms of definition, is the possession of invaluable items or things. Or in this person, we're talking about a human being. And so if I have two grandchildren, I must be one of the wealthiest men that ever walked the face of the planet. And if my relationships make me wealthy, then I'm already wealthy. And I don't need anybody to tell me that I'm not. You can't convince me that I'm not. I wouldn't trade in my relationship with my brothers for nothing in the world. Nothing in the world. My wife, forget about it. I might trade my freedom for her to protect that wealth. You know what I'm saying? And so when you think about the wealth component, and when you think about getting to this place where we are um, 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 create not creating, but um, bring it back to the forefront of our mindset who we are right now today. Because even in slavery, we were still wealthy. And that's the part that a lot of people miss out on. Because, yeah, even in the worst times of our existence, we were still wealthy. Our culture made us wealthy. Our values made us wealthy. Our relationships with one another made us wealthy. Us going through the worst thing in our lives and finding something good to talk about at the end of the day makes me wealthy, because that means for me to find something to talk about good, to find something to be hopeful for during that time. That means inside of me, there's a well of wealth that's stored up that just won't die, that just won't allow me to value myself based on my set of circumstances. Because if it's the external that makes me wealthy, then all of us are broke. So when we get back to the place of seeing that it's not the external, I could care less about $1. $1 isn't about making me anything. Jeffrey Robinson is going to be Jeffrey Robinson, whether the whether it's cloudy outside, whether it's raining or not raining. And getting to the point where you have mentioned about having overcome everything that we've overcome, you got to be some kind of special to overcome some of the things that you've overcome. And when you really look back and reflect on the things that, if you go, I go to Chicago. It was a rough area. It was a rough area in my neighborhood. I won't lie to you. It was rough. Now, if I can survive that, the rest of this got to be easy. Stress on my job? Are you serious? People used to shoot at me. Talk about stress on the job. It's a different kind of stress, but when you really think about what you've gone through, none of us are here by accident. I mean, we none of us are here by accident. We're not here by accident. And so when you think about the Build Wealth curriculum in our financial education, it's about really getting a full grasp, a real grasp back on what is wealth. You know, our relationships make us wealthy. The money makes us financially wealthy. And we need, now, don't get me wrong, I can care less about a dollar, but I need the dollar. I need the money because the true wealth that I have, my relationships, I have I have in my mind um, a vision of the life I believe we deserve. And getting the dollar is only about pushing us closer to the life that we want. Not that dollar brings happiness into my life, because if I'm basing it off of that, then I'm never going to be happy. It's going to be very difficult, because when things get hard, then I'm not happy. And so with our curriculum and the education part of it is first realigning our values back, pointing us back to what makes us truly wealthy, so that we can lay that as a foundation, and then understand how these other components can be utilized to actually build that wealth that we already have up into the picture of what we imagine the whole scope of our life should be. Because it's not about the life that I envision for you. My life is for me, but what do you want for yourself? And then, so once you get the sense of what wealth really is, now we can get joy back. Now we can get, happiness back. Now, you know what? Oh, no, yeah, I still got that disconnection notice in the mailbox, but I got something else that says that, okay, I'm gonna be able to get these things going. And then the next thing is, now I need to be equipped with the tools, because now I'm dreaming again. Now I'm hoping again. Now I have something else to look forward to, and I'm not just here. They think they come here for home ownership, but what they really coming here for is for the life. The life. They come here for home ownership, and they really start attaining the life that they used to dream about, that somebody or something like tried to take it from them a long time ago. And we just here to try to help you revision what it is that you saw a long time ago, and show you the pathway to getting it. You're on mute, Mal.
Hold on. You hear me okay now? I got to, sorry. Pieces of equipment here.